Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the Growth Frequency, the podcast where we go behind the scenes with leaders in the coaching world to uncover what's really working, what isn't, and how they're navigating the evolving landscape of transformation, education, and impact. Today's guest is Saurabh Nanda, a career coach, youth mentor, and the founder of SN Mentoring, where he helps young professionals and students from across India and beyond find clarity, purpose, and practical direction in their career journeys. From working with top universities to designing mentoring systems for edtechs and social enterprises, Saurabh's impact spans both grassroots and global levels. In this episode, we're diving into what's working in the career coaching space today, the real life challenges of running a coaching business across continents, and what the future holds for education, automation, and social impact. Let's dive in. Hi, good morning, Saurabh. Very nice to meet you. To add a bit of context, can you tell our listeners what exactly is that you do and what is your business today?
Okay. Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Laura, for having me over on your new podcast. I really hope this really goes into all the levels that it is supposed to and it should go to. And thank you so much for doing it early in the morning. I assume it's quite early in Estonia. Welcome everyone to this episode. My name is Saurabh Nanda, and I am a career counselor entrepreneur. And I have been doing this since 2012. I have a few companies that I run now. I have a team which works out of 5 different cities in India. We are a completely remote, online first, digital first company. However, we might have to do a lot of things in person now, but that's what we do. And I've lived in different cities in India. Currently, I'm based out of Delhi and Punjab. I've also lived for a year in Denmark and for a year in Japan. So yeah, that's pretty much about me.
Nice. Can you tell us a bit about your journey into coaching business and what sparked the idea for your SN mentoring?
Yes, so I think that's going to be a longish answer, but let me try to keep it straight. So, I was a computer science engineer because, most Indians are. And I didn't really know why I joined computer science engineering because everyone else was doing it and I was not bad at it. I was decent. So I did that. Pretty quickly, I understood that I didn't want to be a computer science engineer. I would want to be a chemical engineer. And then pretty quickly after that, I realized I probably want to be an entrepreneur or a lawyer or maybe somebody who has more interaction with other people. But that was what was happening in my career. So I joined an American company, worked there. And after 2.5 years, I realized, you know what, this is not working out. I need to solve that problem because if this is happening to me, that means it's happening to millions of other Indians and maybe millions or hundreds of millions across the world. So it seemed like a very, very interesting challenge to solve. I was very passionate about it. And so I joined a startup which used to work in psychometric assessments. Psychometric assessments are tests, psychology tests, which help us understand you better. I think a lot of people might have heard of MBTI, which is quite popular. So I learned that. I did my master's in psychology, did a bunch of different things in the education ecosystem within India, consulted a university in Copenhagen, Denmark, and that's when I realized that career counseling is one small part of it. You can counsel somebody, but that's just a transaction. You can have a conversation. It's like consulting. You charge by the hour and you give them the right information. But what we soon realized was when we would follow up with our clients 6 months later, we would see that even though they really appreciated all the advice that we gave them, but they were not following up on the advice. They were still making bad career decisions. So that's when we realized that just counseling is not enough, and you need to work on the mentorship aspect or the hand holding, or when you need to work with them throughout, you need to support them, you need to act like an accountability coach maybe, or you need to solve their problems, or you need to give them motivation, confidence. So that is why my career counseling or career consultancy practice pretty quickly converted into a career mentorship practice. And today I'm happy to announce that we are on a mission to make India career mentorship ready by 2030. And for that, we are working with governments, we are working with universities, we are working developing a lot of intellectual property around it. We're training a lot of counselors and so on.
What kind of impact are you the most proud of creating so far?
That's a tough one. I've had the privilege of working with some 20,000 plus young people so far. I know it sounds like a very big number, but when you come to a country like India, that number is not very big, to be honest. But I think, and every single time we help a young person make good career decisions, it gives us that happiness and that motivation to continue going, even if the business cycle is not very good. We're still happy with the work that we're doing. But I think most recently, the most important impact that I have been able to see and make is working with the indigenous peoples in India. In India, we call them tribal populations, and India has some of the largest indigenous people in the world. I think there are close to half a billion indigenous peoples across the world, and in India, we have around 200 million of them or something. So we're working with this remote Himalayan population right now in a small state in India called Sikkim. It is next to Bhutan, if you've heard of Bhutan, which is like the happiest country on the planet. So we're working with them. Those students, just like every other young person, extremely curious, very smart, very resourceful, but they just don't have the right direction, right resources, and the impact that we are able to create over there is something very close to my heart right now. And I'm really thankful to the Sikkim government for trusting us with this momentous pilot project.
Amazing. Yeah, when I think about when I was younger, um, then also I didn't know what should I do, and then I went to the university. I'm also an engineer actually before I became a therapist. I just did it because I thought this is what I was supposed to do, but I didn't know how to ask questions or anything. And in Estonia we don't have a business or a service like yours, so I admire you for it.
That's amazing. I mean, you and I practically have the same kind of journey then. From engineering to psychology to coaching, it's brilliant. And just based on what you said, I delivered a TEDx talk in Japan in 2022. And I realized very quickly after the talk, a lot of people came up to me for discussing things and how they could relate to my talk. I had a lot of Canadians, a lot of Germans, some Australians, Asians coming up to me and then saying, we went through the same thing. We went through something very similar. We're still not very sure. So that is why I believe that it's a very big problem. It's probably the most unstated big social problem that we have today, where the youth need the right direction and guidance. And I think maybe around 70 to 80% of the world still does not have good guidance services available.
What are the biggest changes that you have seen post pandemic in the world or in India?
Well, the biggest change would be that Indians have started accepting services being provided online. Every human society is a very trust based society. I'm pretty sure it's the same with Estonians, because I found the same with Danes, I found the same with the Japanese, I found the same with Indians all over India, right? So in India especially, business transactions or guidance services, people would pay for them only after they meet you. They see you in person, they shake hands with you, they have a cup of tea with you or chai with you. Only after that they will be ready to pay you money and take it forward. So you needed to have an office, you needed to have a team over there, and, which is good, but then it limits you geographically. The pandemic allowed Indians to actually accept that quality services can be provided, and you can trust people who are probably 1,500 kilometers away from you. You've never met them in life, but so that was the biggest boon, I think, for Indians. A lot of different services in India did very well, especially after the pandemic. For example, currently, I think the largest number of digital transactions, money transactions, happen in India. And so that was the biggest change. But what I also find is that a lot of people have started taking their mental health and their physical health quite seriously after the pandemic. Humans love to eat, humans love to have a good life, and it takes a lot of effort to put your health first. But I think the pandemic has pushed a lot of people into that, and I see a lot of things happening because of that.
What does your day to day look like right now? You have multiple businesses, you're a busy man, I assume. So, what does your week look like? What does your day look like? And what makes you the happiest within those days and weeks?
Yeah, I'm going to give you an answer which is not very good. Yes, you're right. I mean, currently I have a couple of companies, and we're constantly trying to get new business, constantly trying to forge new partnerships with other people, especially when you start working with bigger, very complicated organizations like governments, be it the government of India or different state governments within India. It takes a lot of different kind of effort to build that. On top of it, you have the rest of your business. So how we do it right now on a daily day-to-day basis is mostly towards the end of a day. I'm able to plan out what I need to do the next day. Some of the non-negotiable things that I need to finish the next day itself. There are deadlines associated with it, because if they don't work out the next day, then it'll carry on forward, and then all the other things which are planned will not work out. So that's what I usually do. In today's world, personal branding is supremely important. So I try to post on social media every 2 days. I stick to LinkedIn. I'm not good at Instagram at all. I think Instagram is a wonderful platform. I went through your profile, Laura. Congratulations on having such a huge following, but I prefer LinkedIn, and Instagram is, again, amazing. I hope we can do it someday. So every 2 days, I put something on LinkedIn. I make sure that I'm trying to do a few media appearances, media features, media projects in a month. As I said, personal branding is what marketing is nowadays. Most of our business actually comes from word of mouth. And I know that I cannot go viral. I'm not a celebrity. I'm not a spokesperson. So I will never have, probably never have millions of followers. That's absolutely okay. You don't need millions of followers to run a business. But what we do deliberately is we put out very, very good content, very good material about ourselves, about our business. We constantly focus on Google reviews and a bunch of other things, so that when somebody finally discovers who we are, okay, so this is Saurabh Nanda and this is his company SN Mentoring. What they would probably do is they would go online, they would go on Google, and the first thing that they will do is they will look for Saurabh Nanda and SN Mentoring. So I'm pretty happy. In the last 5 years, we've done very good Google SEO. We've done very good YouTube SEO. We've done very good LinkedIn SEO. So anybody who comes across my profile or comes across what we're doing, they get impressed very quickly. They get a lot of validation that, okay, this guy is doing a lot of things, must be some value to it. So then we start getting good quality leads, and our lead conversion is quite good actually. It's around 60 to 70%. We focus more on that. And then again, this is considering a lot of business sentiments in India. That is how India works. But then we also have clients from 7 other countries. So again, we haven't done any marketing in those countries. It's just through word of mouth. Talking about the other question that you said, how does the rest of my day look like? We plan it weekly. I think planning a single day becomes too much of a micromanagement for me right now, because there will always be unforeseen things happening. You will always have to put out some fires. Something is not working, something is bad, an employee has a problem, a team member wants a vacation, some new project requirement has come in. So you can't really help that. But what I try to do is I like to try and do all the deep work that I do in the mornings. So right after I put something on social media, I would like to spend an hour or two on working on things which only I can do, my team cannot. And then the rest of the day after around 11:30, 12, it's all about client meetings, it's all about internal meetings, it's all about messaging people on WhatsApp and email and everything. So I try to finish my day by 6:30 p.m. or 7 at the most, and then try to focus on other aspects of health and everything. I try to not eat anything after 6:30, so that it gives a good intermittent kind of a break to my body, so that next day I wake up fresh. And yeah, I hope that helps.
It does. I mean, I have to agree on the LinkedIn thing because I was very impressed by your LinkedIn. So it works. The strategic is right. What would you say is working very well for your business or businesses right now? What are you happy about?
Brilliant question, actually. And what is working really, really well for us are collaborations. um, as an engineer, as you are, you sometimes you're a natural problem solver, right? That is how you think, that is how you're taught to think, and sometimes that gives you a false confidence that you can solve the entire problem on your own. And when you're talking about a giant problem to solve, like career consulting, mentoring, youth mentorship, then you realize you cannot do it alone, because you're dealing with people. Human beings are not objects, they are not machines. You cannot put them into boxes, you cannot push them in one corner and then just assume everything will happen on its own. And you need to understand every human being is unique. They need different kind of interventions. For some, coaching might be very useful, but for some your coaching might be very useful because it's just the style that we have, it's just the communication that we have, right? So that is when in 2020, after the pandemic hit, and suddenly the entire world felt that, okay, we are all in this together. And that's when I deliberately made a point of collaborating with people. That was one of the reasons why I started a podcast, wherein I would just invite all the people in my network and just have a conversation about different things. And through that, and I didn't realize that it would happen like that, but through that, once they talked to me, they understood the kind of things that I am doing or used to do, which they did not quite understand before. They started sending a lot of business towards us without me asking. And that proved to be wonderful. India is a middle economy right now. It's not the biggest, we're growing, but then, so what is started happening now is a lot of professional service associations or organizations are sprouting up in India. Proper collaborations are possible now. Networking is possible. So there are counselor organizations and associations. There are people who are education consultants, coaching consultants. They all have organizations. So I invest a lot in them. I'm proud to say I get much more business from them than the membership fees that I pay, or the amount of time and money that I spent on travel to attending these conferences. So the best thing for us has been collaboration. And this is something that I teach other counselors and coaches as well. I actually created a framework how you can collaborate with the other person. It has to be a win-win-win scenario wherein somebody who refers you the business, they need to win, the client needs to win, of course, and then you need to win. So we created a framework around that. I've done a couple of sessions. Some of them is also available on YouTube, I think.
Very interesting. But what would you say on the flip side? What has been frustrating or more difficult to scale?
Yeah. Again, there is this constant struggle between the engineering side of my mind and the psychologist side of my mind, wherein the psychologist thinks more in, I would say, human thought processes, systems, giving it time, and so on. The engineering side wants the problem to be solved very quickly, very efficiently, more productively. So initially there was a lot of frustration that I used to have with a lot of my team members that they were not doing the kind of work that I would expect them to do in a particular way. But that was just completely wrong because everyone has their own style, and I'm very happy that my team members have taught me that lesson. So scalability does come, and it will come on its own. There are a lot of things which need to be in place. So many things that you can control, but there are a lot of other things that you cannot control. So when all of them come into the place, then it works. For example, the first government project that we are implementing right now, it took 16 months to come into the picture. So that was a 16-month gestation period. So of course you're very frustrated in those 16 months why it is taking so much time and so on. But then that's how the government works. It's slow. The public sector is slow. You can't help it. So you need to develop systems around it so that you continue to have enough business capital to run your everyday work, and then wait for this moment. And then the moment you start getting a lot of things from them, you start getting the work order or whatever, then you make sure that in that opportunity you are over delivering than what you had committed before, so that because of that over delivery, chances of you getting business are much going to be much higher. So that has been a frustration understanding the business cycles, especially in today's world with geopolitics, with so many things changing so quickly, so fast. The world is in a lot of conflict right now. India and Pakistan recently had conflict. I literally saw rockets flying over my house one of the nights. So it's terrifying. But because of that, the business cycles are very tough to manage right now. So that's the frustrating part.
How many team members do you have? How big is your team?
So we employ indirectly 10 people from 7 different cities. And indirectly, we have vendors. We have, I think, 3 more vendors and their teams. And then we have partners and collaborators in almost all over India and beyond the borders as well. In Africa, we have collaborators in the Middle East, Canada, and Australia, New Zealand. So Yeah, so I mean, if you look at that's, I mean, that's what I feel, that the term team, I think the traditional definition of team has to evolve now. We firmly believe in collaboration, so I consider all of them my team, because if I do not consider all my collaborators as team, then I am not giving them the same effort and same attention and same importance as I would give to somebody who's directly working with me. And if I don't give them the same importance, then that means we're not getting business from them. Well, in the broader sense of the term team, I think we have amazing 100 people with us, and I'm extremely blessed to have those wonderful people with us.
This is a very important mindset to have, actually. We need to highlight it. I
Thank you.
agree. I saw with my research that you have now two AI chat robots for the young people, right? Can you tell us a bit more about the robots, the chatbots, and how do they work in practice?
Excellent. Very interesting, actually. My co-founder in my AI work approached me in a Facebook group of all places, and he said, "Hey, I'm doing something with AI. Would you be interested?" And I said, "Yeah, let's do it." So we started working on something. We understood a lot. We learned a lot. So eventually, we developed an AI career counselor. We did a little bit of training of the LLM. In fact, in 2022, we had developed our own LLM with 1.7 billion parameters, and it was working fine for us. But then, 2022 November or December, that's when ChatGPT became really popular. And in January they offered a very cheap API, so we started using the ChatGPT LLM. Um, and we created the counselor. Now, I was extremely happy because I thought maybe this is the time how I can reach out to 100 million people, which I was not going to do physically. It's impossible for a human being to do. And we launched it. We did a lot of beta testing. We gave it out to a lot of young people, students, to test out. What happened was they all liked it. Young high school students, college students, they all liked it, but they were not using it. And I was surprised, because I thought, now when somebody might be having some kind of a career related challenge or panic, maybe 3 a.m. in the morning, and they will have this chatbot with them to talk to and, solve their problems or feel better, but they were just not using it. And we were very surprised. So that's when we realized that coaching, mentorship of any kind actually is not a direct need, it's a latent need. Most human beings realize the importance of mentorship and coaching only when they have faced a couple of very tough situations in their life. Otherwise, they're not ready to take help from anybody. And but there was another demographic which was using the AI chatbot a lot. There was a huge usage from their side, and we tried understanding which is this demographic, and we found out that other career counselors in India were really using the chatbot a lot for everything that they were doing. So, so what we realized was that the end user for the AI chatbot is not going to use it or not going to pay for it. The consultant in the middle wants to use it, is not yet ready to pay for it, but will eventually pay for it. So that was the business learning from it. Then we also tried understanding about mental health, and there are a few statistics which say, see, in a large country like India, around, it says almost 48% of the people have some or the other sort of mental challenge, mental wellness challenge happening, which is crazy, right? But when you consider the numbers, half of India, so that's like 750 million people. So that's a huge market. So we trained ChatGPT to actually start giving mental health advice. By the way, it is illegal for AI chatbots to give mental health advice in the US and maybe in Europe as well. Because in the US, certain companies tried it before the pandemic. They gave really bad advice. In fact, sometimes they would give advice like you should. They gave the opposite advice, actually. So they're banned. But in India, so we tried to train it, we used it, and we took the help of a few psychologists, practicing clinical psychologists, and they verified it. They said this will really work as the first step towards mental health barriers. So we launched that. It was a good, successful beta test. Now we are trying to figure out how to sell it. We don't want to make it open for everyone, because then people start comparing it directly with ChatGPT, Llama, or Perplexity, and any other platform that you're using. And we're trying to find very unique use cases within big organizations. We're trying to work with the government to create a chatbot for them. So yeah, so that's what the learning has been so far.
I'm not sure about laws in Europe. In Estonia, we have this one startup that took famous therapists and psychologists from all over the world and from Estonia, and they made AI version of those therapists. So you go to websites and then you can choose a psychologist. I know it because they did it for me too. So I'm on this website, and then you can, book a session with the therapist. You can talk to them. They will give you some advice and some to-do list to do. So I was actually in the testing phase. I was talking to myself on the computer. So I sent them my book and my work, and we trained Laura to be better. But I'm not sure where they are right now with it. But I think it's legal in Europe.
That's very interesting because I recently mentored a team from Azerbaijan, a young group of engineers, and they took me on board as their advisor and mentor because I worked in the field before. So they're doing something similar, and this is just because you've been involved in AI as well. What I currently feel is AI can lead you to a very nice sales funnel, right? But ultimately, the business model is still very similar to other business models. Like the one that you're talking about is also an aggregator model, and there are service professionals which offer services, professional services. So you put them on a platform and let the audience choose who they want to take service from, right? So that's what my learning has been. There was a company in there's a company in the UK. I hope it's still there. They approached me a few months ago. They created using the Llama AI on WhatsApp, and they created an AI career counselor on WhatsApp, and ultimately that was free. But whenever you would start interacting with it, they would ask you to download their app, and then they would ask you if you want real advice. You can choose from one of the career counselors on our platform, and so on. I just wanted to share one more thing. One other thing that we learned from our AI experiments has been that most human beings, they really appreciate the information that is being provided by the AI chatbot. However, they still need another human being to validate that information. 90% of the work can be done by AI for you, but the 10% work where you need to sit in front of a human being, like we are sitting in front of each other right now, and transfer that confidence, transfer that validation. I think that's what the magic formula is.
We as humans, we should find a balance between the tech things and the human connection, because the fact that everything is online now is making people feel lonely. When Facebook came, we said that it's connecting people and so on and so on. But today, like, the grandchildren are texting their grandmother on Facebook instead of maybe visiting so often. We have some pros and cons, and the human touch and the human connection is still very important. So we cannot lose that in our lives too, because it's super easy to, you only work on the computer. For example, me today, meetings on the computer, and then when you finish your day, you think that I didn't see a single person during my workday because I was only on my computer. So then you need to go out and walk and connect to the society, really.
That makes so much sense. I mean, one of the things that is proof that humans need other humans is the fact that, there are a lot of these services that you and I offer, and people are still willing to pay for it, even though they can get the same advice, maybe even better advice, because AI has read the entire internet now. So maybe they can get better advice from a good, LLM, but they still are willing to pay money to us to help them with the journey. So I think that human connection, as you said, is the most fundamental part. In fact, I believe personally that by 2040, when most of the world will be digitized and there'll be a lot of automation which will happen, maybe we will have general purpose AI as well. Half of the world's population will be involved in some kind of mentorship, because only humans can do what humans can do, right? We can communicate in a particular way, we can understand and experience and share that experience with other people in a particular way which makes sense, which probably robots or AI might not be able to do so very quickly.
Next question. What are the biggest goals for Zen mentoring in the next 6 or 12 months?
Wow. Okay. Well, that's a good question because I haven't really thought of it yet. So probably right now is the best time to start. Well, as I said, we are on a mission to make India career mentorship ready by 2030. So that gives us a lot of urgency. So we're looking at things like that. However, I would also like to share with everyone here that we are completing 5 years of my second startup, which is SN Mentoring. I have a couple of other companies for SN mentoring. 5 years will be completed in August 2025, so next month. And we're trying to create a lot of material around things that we've achieved. And just yesterday, we were having an internal meeting as to how can we portray that, and we realized that when we reflected, we've actually done quite a lot. It probably doesn't feel like that maybe sometimes, but we did quite a few things. So I'm very, very happy to do that. Share that also with all of you. Plan for the next 12 months is to really create extremely stable, robust, feedback enabled, tech enabled processes which can allow us to counsel 50,000 students, which can allow us to train at least 2,000 counselors and high school teachers, which can allow us to create content which is easy to absorb, which is multilingual, and which can be updated very easily, very seamlessly. So that's the aim. Do I know exactly how to do it? No, but we'll figure it out. But that's the.
I'm sure you will. My last question that I like to ask everyone that comes on this podcast would be, if you could have a magic wand and solve one operational growth challenge in your business tomorrow, what would it be?
Okay. I would just want the obstacles to running a good sustainable business from policy making perspectives across the world simpler. When I tried starting a business in Denmark, there were a lot of obstacles for me. In Japan, there are a different set of bureaucratic hurdles, very different from northern Western Europe. In India is its own thing. We have a quite a lot of Bollywood drama going on in our business cycles. But if I had a magic wand, I would just want that anybody who wants to do something, who's somebody who's passionate, who's persistent, they'll be creative. So if the system, the bureaucratic system or the startup system or the business system can just understand that person and provide all the support that they need, right? How they can move around these challenges. If we could do that, that'll be amazing, because I think then we will be truly unlocking the potential that humans possess. There is so much that the world can do, but it's just not able to do just because a lot of regulations which do not apply to you are still there.
Thank you. Thank you so much for such an interesting conversation. Thank you to all our listeners. I will post all the links and all the information in the show notes, like usual. And thank you guys, and see you next time.
Thank you.